The Galactic Council's emergency session had been called for the first time in 3 centuries. Representatives from 12 species sat in their respective atmospheric bubbles, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses that the universal translators struggled to interpret. At the center of their debate prowled the Void Stalker. It stood nearly 4 meters tall, its obsidian carapace reflecting the chamber's lights like a distorted mirror. 6 limbs ended in claws that could slice through reinforced durasteel, and its eyeless head swiveled constantly, sensing heat signatures and bioelectric fields of every being present. The creature had been terrorizing the Outer Rim colonies for months, leaving behind nothing but empty settlements and the lingering scent of ozone. "The beast must be destroyed immediately," declared High Counselor Zethkar, his crystalline form pulsing with urgent blue light. "Our best military units have failed. It adapts to every weapon we deploy." The Void Stalker's head snapped toward the speaker, mandibles clicking ominously. Several council members recoiled in their protective barriers. "Agreed," buzzed the hive mind representative through their collective consciousness. "Elimination protocols should commence." "Wait." The single word came from the human delegation's seat, spoken so quietly it was barely picked up by the audio systems. Yet somehow, impossibly, the Void Stalker stopped its restless prowling and turned toward the sound. Ambassador Sarah Chen rose from her simple chair. No atmospheric bubble, no environmental suit, just a slight woman in a plain diplomatic uniform. The other council members had always found humans puzzling in their apparent fragility, their insistence on breathing the same toxic oxygen that corroded metal and supported combustion. "Ambassador Chen," Zethkar's light flickered with impatience. "This is not the time for human uncreativity. This creature has slaughtered thousands." Sarah walked toward the center of the chamber, her movements slow and deliberate. The Void Stalker's massive head tracked her approach, but it remained still. The council watched in stunned silence as she passed through the security barriers that should have been impenetrable. "Has anyone tried talking to it?" she asked, not taking her eyes off the creature. "Talking?" The Methadarian delegate's tentacles writhed with confusion. "Ambassador, that thing is a mindless killer. Our xenobiologist confirmed it has no higher brain functions." Sarah stopped 3 meters from the Void Stalker. At this distance, the creature could have cut her in half with a single swipe. Instead, it lowered its head slightly as if listening. "Your xenobiologist," Sarah said softly. "We're looking in the wrong place." She reached slowly into her jacket and withdrew something that made several council members gasp. A small, flowering plant in a ceramic pot. Earth daisies, their white petals pristine against dark soil. "My grandmother used to say that anything living just wants to be understood," Sarah murmured, placing the pot on the floor between herself and the creature. She raised flowers in the harshest environments, space stations, mining asteroids, colony ships. Said life always finds a way to bloom, even in the dark. The Void Stalker's massive form trembled slightly, its head lowered further, and from somewhere deep in its thorax came a sound none of them had heard before. A low, harmonious hum that resonated through the chamber's metal floors. "Impossible," breathed the Syntheri representative. "It's singing?" Sarah smiled sadly. "Not singing, mourning." She knelt beside the flower, her hand extended palm up toward the creature. "You're not a monster, are you? You're just lost, far from home, in a universe that doesn't understand your language." The Void Stalker's humming grew more complex, rising and falling in patterns that almost resembled speech. Its massive head came down until it was nearly touching Sarah's outstretched hand, and for the first time, the council members noticed something extraordinary: tears. Crystalline droplets falling from invisible organs, each one catching the light like liquid starfire. "The colonies it attacked," Sarah continued, her voice gentle. "They were all agricultural settlements. You weren't hunting the people. You were looking for the gardens, weren't you? Searching for something alive and growing in all this metal and concrete." The creature's humming became a keening wail that spoke of loneliness, spanning light years, of a being bred for harmony finding only sterile worlds and frightened screams. Slowly, carefully, one massive claw extended toward the daisies, stopping just short of the delicate petals. "The council should have tried talking first," Sarah said, looking up at the assembled representatives. "In all your military analyses and xenobiology reports, did anyone think to check if it was trying to communicate? Did anyone consider that when a creature is in pain, it sometimes lashes out not from malice but from desperation? Zethkar's crystalline form had dimmed to a soft amber. The translation matrices found no recognizable language patterns. Because you were looking for words. Sarah's hand finally made contact with the creature's claw, and the Voidstalker's entire body relaxed, settling onto the chamber floor with surprising grace. But this one speaks in songs and harmonics that resonate with living things. It's not from a technological species, it's from gardeners, cultivators, beings who grow worlds instead of building them. The creature's humming had become almost musical now, complex melodies that seemed to make the air itself more pleasant to breathe. Several council members found themselves leaning forward, drawn by the unexpected beauty of the sound. The Outer Rim settlements, Sarah continued, stroking the creature's claw like she might pet a cat. They must have reminded you of home. The growing things, the soil, the smell of life taking root. But when you tried to join them, to add your voice to their gardens, she looked up at the council again. They screamed and ran, and their fear made you afraid too, didn't it? The Voidstalker's response was barely a whisper of sound, but in it was the story of every misunderstood being across the galaxy. The pain of reaching out and finding only rejection. The spiral from hope into rage, from connection into isolation. Sarah stood slowly, the flower pot cradled in her hands. There's a botanical research station on Kepler 442b. Miles of gardens, greenhouse domes, scientists who understand that life comes in forms they've never imagined. She offered the pot to the creature, who accepted it with trembling delicacy. Would you like to go there? To sing with the flowers again? The Voidstalker's head rose, its eyeless gaze somehow finding each council member in turn. When it spoke, and they all recognized now that it was speech, the translation matrices finally found patterns they could interpret. Thank you, it said, its voice like wind through meadows. Thank you for listening. As the creature was gently escorted from the chamber by xenobotanists who specialized in sentient plant communication, High Counselor Zethkar approached Ambassador Chen. How did you know? He asked. Sarah was watching the Voidstalker disappear down the corridor, still humming softly to its handful of earth daisies. My grandmother taught me that monsters are usually just gardeners who've been planting in the wrong soil, she said. Sometimes all they need is someone to help them find their way home. The council chamber fell silent except for the fading echoes of the creature's song, and for the first time in months, it sounded like hope.